How do Mime Artists? Welcome to the last part of all of these new stages from the Alolan update. Next up we have Silcoon stage 571, and this one is delightfully simple once again. This one won't take any items. If you use a team similar to this, it's a free Pokemon stage. Take Gengar, take whatever you've got that's the most powerful. I use Lugia because there's a couple of Silcoon on the stage, so it can be good to get rid of those and just increase the combos just that little bit when it's able to get them away. Sometimes it may not work perfectly, but when it does, it's wonderful. This is a pretty easy stage to S rank. I think you only need 5 moves. I had 4, but I'm going to go back. I'll beat this stage a couple more times and no doubt be able to beat it with 4 moves left, 5 moves left, 6 moves left. It just depends. RNG can be the greatest friend or the worst enemy at different times, often in the exact same match. This is a delightful stage to start off these 10, because I thought that the ones yesterday, the 560 through 570, would be the hardest in these new ones, but no, there are some very difficult stages. These first two are quite delightfully simple in comparison, and we will be ending with the Mega-Gallade, the last level that has been released in the new update, and ooh, it's a tricky one. There we go. 4 moves left. It's an A rank, but I will no doubt come back. I wasn't able to catch it, but it's one of those stages you can do, 4 or 5 times, and within that you'll be able to S rank it and you'll be able to catch it and never think of it again. And next up here we have Gardevoir going in with pretty much a fully optimized steel team with Mega Aggron, Metagross, Dialga and Registeel. Registeel has been skill swapped for Block Smash Plus, which is very delightful because Gardevoir will disrupt you with some of those quite annoying unbreakable blocks, but when you've got Registeel and Dialga both on your team, it's not really much of an issue. And then once you've got Mega Aggron, Mega Evolved, absolutely delightful. You can help just make some more combos if you're good at using Mega Aggron in that way. Mine's very thankfully made quite a few matches, so Mega Evolved very quickly. Certainly a boon for this run, it worked out rather well. Apart from that, I was pretty lucky with all of the Block Smash Pluses that went off, and after a while, it's a pretty delightful stage. It's not overly difficult. It's not the easiest to S rank because there's not that many moves, and it's got quite a lot of HP. It's easy to beat, but to S rank it you'll probably want something like a Mega Start and a +5 moves. I don't think anything else would be necessary. The disruptions aren't really in your face, and if you're going in with a team like this, it will almost always be able to just get rid of those unbreakable blocks. You've just got to make sure that if Aggron goes off, just like it did there, that you don't accidentally tap and get the Gardevoir, because then you might just be stuck with a few of them on the stage. There's some nice skill boosts as well for this one. I can't remember what Gardevoir's skill is. I don't think it's a Pokemon I've used that often. Certainly not even for its Mega. Is the Mega? Can't remember. Gardevoir, no doubt. Not a shabby Pokemon, not a shabby stage. Considering how difficult Ralts was in the last one, I think was Ralts no, it was Kirlia that had the puzzle stage, but Ralts was a little bit tough as well to beat. Kirlia with the puzzles, this Gardevoir makes a nice break from how difficult those two were. Certainly for me, I don't know if you find them to be as difficult as I did. Having rushed through 30 stages in a couple of days, you kind of get blinded to what a good and bad stage are. There we go, 4 moves left, not too shabby in the slightest. And next up again is Poochyena. This one I also found a little bit tricky at times. If you want to go in with something like a +5 moves, could be helpful, but this team is pretty much just a fully optimised team. I'd recommend the Heracross over something like the Scizor, as Heracross can it can make combos much easier than the Scizor can, and because the disruptions are just the blocks, the breakable blocks, it's not really necessary. Scizor could be good if they were unbreakable blocks or something like that, but for this, it's quite fine just going with the Heracross, as that will do you very well for getting the combos. The blocks can be a little bit intrusive, so if you wanted to use like a Winking Manaphy for the Block Smash ++, or Rock Break ++, I mean, feel free to go in and use that. It won't be super effective, but it will just be a little bit helpful for getting rid of those pesky wee blocks. Go in with a +5 moves and you'll S-rank it with absolutely no issue whatsoever. But as you'll see in the later stages that are just coming, you're going to need to save all of those coins that you have, if you've still got any left from the last 20 stages. Ditto, this is this 10's version of the puzzle stage, and I'm using Escavalier and Kyurem for the Eject ++, Escavalier for the, what is it? The Barrier Bash ++, I think it has. But if you follow these exact moves as I'm just doing on the screen now, you will be perfectly fine. This is the way to beat this puzzle stage. You'll be left with one little Togepi, and apart from that you can always have the Kyurem just to eject ++ it. There will be so many Ditto in the Skyfall. Once you catch Ditto, go back into the stage with it, and I have absolutely no doubt that even with, I'm not even sure if you'd need a +5 moves, because Ditto will just disrupt itself with itself so many times, it would probably be just a delightfully easy stage. So once you've caught Ditto, just head back in, and if there is an issue with it, you know, going with a +5 moves, that would be the very most that you would need to S-rank this stage. It's a little bit of a disparate team. They're quite odd Pokemon to bring in together, two of them not being super effective, but I think that the Escavalier is certainly necessary for the Barrier Bash. There's no great fighting type Pokemon that is a Barrier Bash Pokemon, so you've got to look elsewhere, and if you're looking elsewhere, it's just best to go with Barrier Bash ++. That way, if there's an excess of them, it won't just get rid of 3 of them, it'll get rid of 5. Kyurem, it's there just to get rid of some of those excessive Dittos. If you didn't want to take it, it's a little bit difficult because it can just be helpful, and it's a very powerful. Mine's I think it's about level 8 or 9, so it's over 110 base power because it's not effective. But there we go, one move left, but go in once you've caught Ditto with Ditto. Its catch rate is absolutely abysmal. With one move left, I think it's about 8%, 7%. So go in, you know, 4 or 5 times, see what you can make of it. Catch it, take it back in, that is how you will S-rank this stage. Glade in the build up to Mega-Gallade. This one is an this one I tried with the Alakazam run. This was itemless. This is how I did itemless a fraction away, and I did this itemless with the Alakazam team many times, and that was the closest I came. Can be done itemless to beat it, but what I did was I went in with that same Alakazam team, but just added in a couple of items, a +5 moves and a Mega Start. And this made it an awful lot easier. You can go in itemless, do it that way, and you can beat it, just move on. But if you want to S-rank it, go in with the +5 moves and the Mega Start. Alakazam I'm not the greatest fan of, because it's terrible for combos if there's not something on the stage. It's easiest if you've got a stage that's got Skyfall where it's blocks, something along those lines, but When when it is just the Pokemon, it's just terrible for trying to get any form of combo. It's just an inconvenience. I've taken Xerneas, not really for anything specific. I think Cresselia. There are some... Is at this stage, I believe there's some barriers, so Cresselia can be used for that, also just very high attack power, and Victini, super effective, high attack power again. Yes, Cresselia, it can get rid of some of those kind of annoying unbreakables that have the ice around them, just in case you've not got the Alakazams on the board to be able to get rid of them. Beyond that, this one again, it's relatively simple. It may take a couple of tries if you're going in itemless. If you're doing it this way, it will probably just be one time. You'll get it S ranked, you'll move on. You've no doubt already caught Glade, you've used Glade, I think it's in one of the expert stages around 20 or something. You've no doubt already got it. This is just kind of a last chance before the Mega-Gallade comes in. And you get a little skill boost present, which is always helpful because Glade is wonderful. It's used an awful lot for its Block Smash Plus. So it's just nice to have along if you want to go in. If you can beat it itemless, just go in, you know, 4 or 5 times, get the skill boosts up just a wee bit. And next up is Glaceon, going in again with Kyurem. Will probably seem strange how much I'm using Kyurem, but it is very necessary. I'm taking Glaceon as well, much like some of the earlier repeat stages. It's good to take the Pokemon itself, because it will disrupt itself with itself numerous times. The Kyurem is there to get rid of the Flareons. I did try to take the Flareon in with me, but between taking Flareon and Glaceon, it was just too little power. My Flareon is just level 1, although it's super effective. The amount of times it disrupts itself with itself is absolutely minimal. Glaceon's in the Skyfall, but Flareon's only in the disruptions. I took Mega-Aggron as well, super effective. Very helpful to have Reshiram there because sometimes there are a couple of barriers which can be bashed. It's mostly there for the attack power as it is a very powerful Pokemon, and it's good to have along for something like this. To S rank this one, if you wanted to use a Mega Start plus 5 moves, to be honest, you might need to go in with something like a complexity -1 and just get rid of those Glaceons completely. Not take Glaceon. That might be the best way to S rank it, and that would be putting in an excessive amount of coins for a stage you've already got. So if you do want to S rank it, if you're a completionist, feel free to head along with that idea. You may be able to, if you've got a really powerful team and a really good run, be able to do it with a Mega Start and a Disruption delay. You could give that a shot, but that would just be a possibility. And so the last disruption there, it's just more Flareons, more Glaceons, and it's just trying to claw at life to beat you. And there we have it, 2 moves left. Not too shabby in the slightest. Glaceon, a pretty tough stage, but not one of the hardest ones we've faced. It's just a little inconvenient that you're probably going to have to spend some coins to get anywhere really great with it. And next up here we have Miltank. Miltank is one of these pretty tough stages. The disruptions aren't awful. I did try to go in with like a Kyurem again. I'm just a big fan of Kyurem. I'm not sure if you can tell. Just to get rid of those Miltanks, but it wasn't really that effective because Miltank's there, but it's mostly the blocks and the combination of the Miltanks and just how tanky this stage is. There aren't any standout teams to be able to beat this. Lucario is fine, but it's just fine. Conkeldurr, it's good, you know, it's got last ditch effort if you need it. I think on one of the first few runs I did of that, I used it and it did like 1800 damage on the very last turn. Can be helpful for that. Nosedive for Meloetta, the pirouette version, very helpful on this stage. You know, if you make a match of 4, you're going to get 1300, just like that. 1300 odd. I think I made a match of 5 in a different run and I got close to 2000. So it's good for a stage like this where the disruptions prevent a lot of combos and it is somewhat tanky. I certainly made some missed moves. Looking back at it now, there's some better stuff I could have done. To S rank this, it's probably going to be +5 moves, disruption delay, that old chestnut of pretty much an almost full item run. A complexity -1's probably excessive if you've got a good enough team. If you can think of anything better, do let me know in the comments down below. This was the best team that I could come up with, and I did it about 4 or 5 different times. Just really trying to jiggery pokery work the best way of doing it. But there we go, Miltank, that's that beaten. It's not really a Pokemon that I would use. I don't think I've gone into a stage with a normal team in a very long time. I don't use the double normal team or anything like that. And so next up is Beautifly. I went in with quite a few different teams and I'll show you them here. I went in with just like the Salamence, pretty average flying type team. About 2/3 of the way of its health were left. I also tried pretty much the same team but using the Rayquaza. Again, 2/3 of its health were left. I tried a Tyranitar team. Again, 2/3 of its health were left, and some of these were using items. I think this Tyranitar one was a Mega Start and the +5 moves, and again it was just not working in the slightest. So I settled on what may be a relatively strange team. I went with the Blaziken Mega and Ponyta. Mine's is still only level 1, I probably got a lot to do with that, but I like the Flash Mob. It kind of works when you've got the Ho-Oh with Pyre, so you've got kind of 2 chances to really boost those fire attacks. This stage, if you don't use a disruption delay, will keep disrupting itself and will prevent combos. With all of the other ones I just showed you, it was very difficult to try to get any form of a combo. With Tyranitar there were just too many different parts of the disruption on different parts of the screen, but a lot of the disruptions aren't made to be, you know, completely obliterated like a Tyranitar would do. A lot of them you've just got to make different blocks go into different places and then they will all just fall out of the disruption. It's just inconvenient and a trolling level, but if you go in with a Blaziken team like this, you can do some very occasional screen wipes and make some pretty good headway into its HP. It's not that tanky a stage, it's just pretty, you know, it can just be a little bit uncomfortable. See, this is the disruption, so you've just got to make a match next to it so it gets rid of the block, and then that gets rid of the next block, which gets rid of the next block, and they all just tumble down. So yeah, try this team, try another team. If you want to go in with something that isn't a Ponyta, you know, a little bit of a higher leveled fire type, that would probably be a pretty good option. I just like the Flash Mob, and I'll probably try to keep leveling up the Ponyta, as it's not that terrible of a base power for a basic Pokemon. And not lastly, penultimately, we have Mightyena going in with a +5 moves. Again, bit uncomfortable. I went in with Escavalier just to get rid of quite a few of those barriers that will pop up. I've got Heracross there to be able to combo quite efficiently once it is Mega Evolved. Xerneas, it's a powerful Pokemon, can come in quite handy here. It kind of disrupts the bug type, but that's not really much of a factor. Heracross will just match anything. It's not like a Blaziken where it only matches with its own type. So in this one, a little bit inconvenient. Again, it's not the toughest stage. It can just be a little inconvenient to beat consistently and effectively. So that's why you need the Escavalier, because it will just put barriers all over the shop. You'll find barriers where you didn't think barriers could go. And the Escavalier, it's a good Pokemon, it's Barrier Bash ++, so it's incredibly delightful just to have on hand. The Genesect, very helpful as well for this stage, as it's just incredibly powerful. Its skill can be relatively handy. It will boost its attack occasionally, and that can be helpful for beating this stage. As it's a repeat, you probably already caught it, so it's not too shabby to just go in again. And now, Mega-Gallade. I will show you two different runs, as I went in again with Alakazam. Full item run, complexity -1 and all. And I wouldn't recommend Alakazam, because the main disruptions, the blocks, are just the first 5 or 6 moves. And after that, it's just awful for the combo potential. It's not there in the slightest, so I would recommend going in with this. Go in with the Rayquaza, go in with the shiny Rayquaza, because that will be so much better. After these blocks are gone, which it can get rid of, it can start and help to combo. If you're good at it, unlike me, I'm not the best at using it, you can use it to combo. It's not as great as something like a Tyranitar would be, as it only gets rid of 2 at a time, 2 touch spots, but it is super effective, so a Tyranitar as such would be absolutely useless on this stage, as it's not super effective. And this Pokemon has a lot of health, has a lot of disruptions in it, and can just be a little bit of a pain in the backside at times. The Xerneas is there, and it's very good, very powerful. Quirky Plus can be used occasionally, and it can help with the combo. It's not necessary. Cresselia, because there will be some barriers that come up once it's out of the disruption delay. Lugia, powerful Pokemon. It's not needed because I've got the complexity -1. You don't get Glade showing up on the board as you would otherwise. I did try to take Glade in, but then it just disrupted with, I think it was Kirlia or Gardevoir, I can't remember specifically, but this will be, unfortunately, a stage where you're going to need to put a lot of coins into it. but you only need to beat it. There's no catch rate. You might have already caught Glade. There was the one just a couple before, and it's got its own EX stage, so it's not really much of an issue in that sense. I'm sure quite a few completionists will want it beaten. If you want to go in with something like a completely leveled up Azumarill, that would no doubt work wonderfully. It goes up to like level 20, and I think the attack power of it then is about 130, which is just absolutely insane once you've got it to level 20. So give that a shot if you've got it. Mine's is still a little bit lower level, and I'm leveling it up. But this works just to beat it, and after a while, because this is the last available stage, it could be a couple months before more main stages are released. This is the last one, so feel free to go all out just now, just to beat it as I've done. I didn't attempt to S-rank it because I don't think my teams are powerful enough to be able to do that. I don't think I'm good enough to be able to do that, but it's beaten. I've got the Mega-Gallade, and it will no doubt be very handy. It might even be necessary for an upcoming special stage, who knows, and I can now go back and try some of the normals and the types that fighting is super powerful against. There you go, so the Glade, Galadite Mega Stone, you get a raise max level, and you get a nice message saying congratulations. And your profile turns to gold, which is always nice as well, not too shabby. But I will show you Mega-Gallade just before it finishes, so you know what it looks like and what its power is. I think it's pretty much exactly the same as Ampharos. It's either like Ampharos or Scizor. I can't exactly remember which one's vertical, which one's horizontal, but I think it might be the Ampharos. So it could be quite handy nonetheless. And thank you very much for watching. These are the final 10 stages that have currently been released. It's sad to see them go, and I will no doubt be playing them for an awful long time yet. Thank you very, very much for watching, and how do, Mime Artists?
Eggs! Eggs! E-double-G-S eggs!